Hey guys, this is really ridiculous. I normally don't go live for trades that are this small because there's not a star involved, but like this just totally blew my mind when I saw it come across my Twitter feed from Woj and from Shams. So just to recap what the actual deal is, I'm just going to read it off of my timeline right here. So it says that the Clippers are trading Eric Bledsoe, Keon Johnson, Justise Winslow in a second, and they get Norman Powell and Robert Covington back. I mean, that is a horrible trade for the Blazers. Think about what the Blazers have done. They've traded Gary Trent Jr. for Norman Powell. Remember that? Then they paid Norman Powell a bunch of money, and they basically gave him up for no one. Eric Bledsoe can't really play anymore. And he certainly doesn't fit in today's NBA with how limited he is on offense. Justise Winslow, same deal. He's, I don't want to say a bust, but super disappointing. Keon Johnson, I mean, the Clippers' best young guys are like BJ Boston. Even Amir Coffey is looking good. And then a Clippers second round pick, which is basically useless. And in return, they get not only Norman Powell, who we're talking about, also Robert Covington. They just spent 2 first-round picks to get Robert Covington 2 years ago from the Rockets. And this is what they get for all that? So they gave up 2 first-round picks, and they gave up Gary Trent Jr., who's been a total badass for the Raptors this last month. And in return, they get nothing, like total trash. I cannot believe that there weren't better offers out there on the table for the Blazers. This is insane. Like I would say, well, this means that the Blazers are definitely going to rebuild and they're going to trade a whole bunch of guys. But I mean, wouldn't you want to get at least a first round pick back for Norman Powell, who's going to be a great fit for the Clippers? So from the Blazers, man, this just seems like not the beginning of the end because they've been going downhill for a long time. But this seems like for the Blazers, just even more disappointing, embarrassing news. If I was a Blazers fan, I would just be so down on my basketball team right now. So for the Clippers, what does this mean? I don't think that Paul George or Kawhi Leonard are coming back this season at all. And so they've got Norman Powell under contract for about 4 more years, I believe. And they're going to have Robert Covington, as an unrestricted free agent, but they're going to have his bird rights, which means they kind of have a leg up on everyone else if they want to re-sign him back. And plus, the Clippers don't have any cap space, so they have to use things like bird rights to sign guys. Robert Covington hasn't played that well this year. He used to be that 3-and-D guy that everyone wants, and since he got to the Blazers, really, he's been super disappointing. So I don't know what this means, but like even if you trade Eric Bledsoe, Justise Winslow, Keon Johnson as second just for Robert Covington, that's a good deal. Never mind just getting Robert Covington, just getting Norman Powell. So I think that Norman Powell is going to be a great fit with Kawhi and Paul George in the backcourt going forward. And also, they're going to be a good fit on this team currently. Right now in their backcourt, the Clippers obviously have Mr. June, the goggled goat himself, Reggie Jackson, and they have Luke Kennard, who had a good little spell about a month ago, but overall this team isn't special without Kawhi and PG. But the fact is that doesn't matter. They should try to win this year. The Clippers don't have their own first round pick this year or the next year, or the next year, and the next year. It's all going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So Thunder fans see this and they probably think to themselves, all right, well, we shouldn't be banking on a Clippers lottery pick this year because they're all hoping that the Clippers just totally bomb without Kawhi and PG because the Thunder have the Clippers first round pick and they're hoping at least it's a lottery pick. And so if you're the Clippers, you're like, you know what? Who cares? Kawhi and PG aren't going to be here this year. We're not going to just completely surrender and tank this season. There's no reason to tank. A, we don't have our own first round pick. And B, Ty Lue has been so good as a head coach. It's like you want to reward that. And this team never gives up. They have, I believe it is 7 comebacks of 24 points or more this season, which is more than any team in the NBA by a lot. And you want to reward that kind of fight that the roster has and the adjustments that Ty Lue can make on the fly in midseason. Ty Lue is such a good coach. And so you want to reward all that, right? Now, I think the Clippers are looking forward to next season. I think having Norman Powell there will be a huge upgrade over Eric Bledsoe. Norman Powell isn't a true point guard like you would want. He's a shooting guard, but he can defend, I want to say 1 through 3, but at an elite level. He doesn't really defend 4s or 5s. He also can shoot the 3 ball well, which they need next to Kawhi and Paul George. But Kawhi and PG are in the front court with Zubats, and I think Norman Powell is a pretty solid number 3 in terms of talent on that team. Paul George has a torn UCL. For some reason, they haven't announced that he's going to be out the rest of the season. There is no way that Paul George is coming back this year. There's no way. A torn UCL. Normally, if a pitcher in baseball has a torn UCL, he gets Tommy John surgery, which is basically just taking the ligament that was torn and replacing it with a new ligament from a cadaver or from part of your own body. And it takes about 9 months for those guys to recover. It may be different for basketball because in baseball, if you're a pitcher and you have Tommy John surgery, think of all the force that is happening on your elbow, right? I mean, pitchers have it hard. That's not as much with basketball. Although I still would assume it'd be at least about 9 months, 6 months, 9 months in terms of recovery time. So I don't know why they don't just shut down Paul George and get that surgery going so that he can be back as soon as possible. If he's got a torn UCL, they haven't said partially torn, they said torn. To me, it's like absolutely he's going to be out for the rest of the year. I'm shocked that we haven't heard that news about Paul George yet. And, the hope was that if PG could come back or if PG was around and they were in a playoff spot, then Kawhi Leonard would come back. And Kawhi did have a partially torn ACL, but he opted to get the surgery, which would take him out for about 9 months. He had that toward the end of the playoffs last year. And the reason he didn't opt into his 1-year contract to then play out the year and get more money later is he said, I wouldn't be able to play out the year because I'd be afraid of hurting myself. So instead, I'm going to leave money on the table. And Kawhi said, I'm going to sign as much as I can right now, lock myself in so that this year I can rehab with the thought of coming back this year with no reservations, no fear of hurting myself and losing money down the line. So there was like huge hope that Kawhi was going to come back. Clearly, that was his mindset. I'm going to sign a contract that will allow me to come back and play in this postseason. And so the hope is PG's healthy. They're in a play-in spot. And then Kawhi comes back and has them super competitive in this postseason, especially when it's wide open. This isn't 2017, 2018, when we all know the Warriors are going to win the championship. Could we see Kawhi come back to, like a 6 seed Clippers and then they make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals? And yeah, we could see that. But at this point, dude, that's not going to happen. Now that Paul George has this torn ligament in his elbow, I guarantee he will not come back and we're going to hear an announcement that he got surgery. But it's okay. This is about next season. Kawhi's going to be healthy. Paul George is going to be healthy. They're going to have Norman Powell, who's good. Okay, he's not great. Robert Covington, we'll see how he plays the rest of the year. He wasn't great when he was in Portland. Rocco definitely declined. And so, look, for the Clippers, I'm not like overly excited, but I am excited about all this next year. I think this is a really, really good trade for them currently and in the future. But again, for the Blazers, this is shocking. It is a horrible trade in terms of what they got back. It is a horrible trade in terms of the fit of these new players. Eric Bledsoe, Justise Winslow, those guys are washed up. Keon Johnson isn't that good of a young player. And a second-round pick basically might as well be nothing because it's from the Clippers, who are going to be really good. It's going to be low in the second round. And then when you consider what they gave up, they just traded Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr., and then they get rid of Norman for nothing. So basically, they also got rid of Gary Trent Jr. for nothing. And then they trade Robert Covington, who they just spent 2 first-round picks to get from Houston, and they gave him up for basically nothing. This year, the Blazers have been run horribly since Dame has been there. We've all talked about how Damian Lillard has not played with an all-star teammate since LaMarcus Aldridge in 2015. CJ McCollum's never been an all-star. They have never gotten him. This is the kind of move that makes you wonder why Damian Lillard wants to be a Blazer. It's like, dude, I get loyalty, but at some point, that team has to be loyal to you, right? If they're making stupid decisions like this, how can you look at that and reward that with your loyalty? That blows my mind. The fact that Dame, now I just saw some sort of a report that said Dame says if he gets traded, he would prefer to stay on the West Coast. So it's like, all right, we're already starting to hear little rumors about Damian Lillard wanting to leave. Whatever. I don't even care at this point. I'm like, leave, don't leave, Dame. It doesn't matter. This whole thing is a total S show. So, for me, there's got to be another move coming for the Blazers. There's got to be something beyond this because this move makes no sense. And usually when a trade makes no sense, it's part of a bigger plan. And I sure hope it is, because if not, this is one of the stupidest NBA trades I have ever seen from a front office, from a Blazers standpoint. This is absolutely dumb. I'm sure there were better offers out there from teams, especially for Norman Powell. They got nothing back for these guys. For the Clippers, great for them. Dude, if I'm a Clipper fan, I'm ecstatic. I just flipped 3 dudes who don't really contribute to my team. I know they play, but it's not like they're, changing the season. For at least one guy who will be a game changer in Norman Powell. He is a two-way two-guard. He guards 1 through 3. He can hit the 3. And Robert Covington is like a lottery ticket. If he works out, great. If not, whatever. He was just a throw-in, And since Paul George has gotten injured, the one thing that has been the biggest downfall actually is the Clippers defense. You would think because Paul George is their only offensive superstar, once he got injured, their offense would tank. In fact, it's been the Clippers defense that's been so bad. So in a way, this move is for the Clippers this year and next year. This year, because Norm Powell and Robert Covington are known for their defense. And next year, because they both fit in with Kawhi and Paul George. So the fact that they don't have their draft pick for this year, the Clippers, they're like, why not? We should win this year and then build for next year. So, it's just too bad, especially with the Clippers. It always feels like it's a next year team for them, right? All right, Clippers. All right, next year. Cannot wait for next year, Ever since Kawhi and Paul George have gotten there, it's always been like, all right, we're psyched for next year. But who cares? Like, I really am excited for next year for this team. And Norman Powell and Robert Covington only increase that. So I hope that you guys did not just jump in and miss all of my takes there. But if you guys have any questions, I just saw somebody say that the Blazers did this to free up cap space. I guess that's true, dude. But here's my question about that. What are you going to do with that cap space? Cap space generally are for free agents, right? So if you're saying cap space, a free agent's going to sign in Portland, do you know of any free agents who are wanting to sign in Portland? Because I don't. Or are you trying to get someone talented? Well, you just sent out Norman Powell for 3 untalented dudes. So what is the point of clearing for cap space and getting talent when you're sending out someone like Norman Powell? All right. They saved around $10 million. Congratulations. Do you really think that $10 million would be better for them than the talent of Norman Powell? I don't. All right, what else do we got? Someone said that I'm tripping. I'm trying to find out who that was. Clippers have a top 7 defense. This dude's tripping. Do they? I don't know. Let's see. Well, I'm not going to look it up. Since Paul George has gone down, they've had a horrible defense. That's all I know. Let's see. Oh my God, Robert Peterson. You're a beast. Dame for Westbrook? No. Sorry, man. That's not a thing at all. Ben Simmons? I would do that. I would trade CJ McCollum or Damian Lillard for Ben Simmons. Can Lillard be traded even though he's injured? Yes, Nino. I don't know why, actually, Nino. That's like a common question. People always wondered, can you be traded if you're injured? Yes, you can. I don't know where people got that in their head. Ricky Rubio could be traded even though he's injured. Colin Sexton could be traded even though he's injured. And so can Dame. People around the NBA say that the Lakers can't upgrade because THC and Nunn have no trade value, but apparently Bledsoe. Philip, that's such a good point. Philip's like, apparently Bledsoe can get you Norman Powell. That is hilarious, dude. You're so right. THT, like, where are the Lakers on this? Dude, that's another underrated storyline of this trade. This trade for the Clippers also keeps Norman Powell and Robert Covington away from other contenders. So that is wild. That's such a good point, dude. Can you go over the details of the trade? Sure. The Clippers sent out Eric Bledsoe, Keon Johnson, and Justise Winslow plus a second, and they got back Norman Powell, and they got back Robert Covington. So one good player and one past his prime player for 3 washed up players. Like, it makes no sense. Kawhi just wants to rebuild the Raptors in LA. It worked the first time. Why not? All right. Do you like the AFL? Don't even know what that is. CJ has to be gone now. I totally agree, dude. Oh yeah, Lakers totally needed this guy. Yeah, right? Can you imagine Norman Powell in the Lakers with his defense, with his shooting, and the fact that he'd be in the backcourt? That'd be great, dude. All right. If Cam Reddish got a first, you're telling me Powell Covington can at least get you? Thank you. Anchor says the same thing, dude. Honestly, like, this trade is insane. I mean, I don't know, man. This trade should go down. Check this out. Is Keon Johnson any good? I don't watch enough Keon Johnson to tell you if he's going to be good in the future, but I know right now he is not a game changer. Their best players right now are young players, are Amir Coffey and are BJ Boston. So I don't know. What would you do with the Blazers? I would trade everyone. Ben Simmons to the Blazers is coming. Dame is out, or Anthony Simons. I don't know. Maybe to be able to take on Simmons and Harris. Maybe you're right. Maybe if that's a good point. Earlier, guys, if you're just jumping in, I basically ended my recap of the trade by saying, this Blazers trade is so stupid, it has to be part of a bigger deal. Because normally when a trade makes no sense, there's more coming. That's what I said, right? And so we just had someone in the chat say, well, maybe this is them clearing $10 million in space because they're somehow going to try and fit in Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. And that's a really good point because we know that Philly is trying to move both of them and they both make a ton of money. Maybe that's true. Maybe that is true. We'll see. If that is true, do the Blazers want to trade Dame or CJ? You know? And I think right now it's like, I get the feeling like they would be willing to trade Dame. I don't know why. Teams shouldn't make any trades with the Raptors or the Clippers. Why do you say that, Rahul? What are the good trades for the Blazers? What does that mean? Are you talking about what can they now make? I mean, I would definitely make a Ben Simmons move. Do you think the Clippers will make any other moves? No. I'll tell you this. They're not going to make any other moves bigger than this. This move was huge. Why move Harris? Do you think Bledsoe will be bought out? I think that they would want to move Harris. Yeah, I mean, Bledsoe's a decent buyout candidate. Let's see how much money Bledsoe actually has left, because often guys with more than 2 years are not bought out, but you never know. So Bledsoe has 2 years left, 18 million and 19 million. That's a lot of money. Norman has 1, 2, 3, and 4 left. And by the way, he only makes like 19 million on average. That's not a bad contract. And Rocco makes 13 million this year. So they could have gotten something way better for Powell. I completely agree. This trade made no sense for the Blazers. Who do you think Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris can get? Uh, I mean, right now, if I said the name of a superstar, that wouldn't count because if the Sixers could get back a superstar, they would have done that. So right now, the names that Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris can get back are not exciting. But if they can get back someone like Dame or CJ, then maybe this is all part of the bigger move for the Blazers. We'll see. You are going to make a Cody Zeller video. Oh, that's right. You never forgot, did you? Jaylen Brown for Anthony Simons and a 2025 first. That is not nearly enough for Jaylen Brown. Can the Raptors acquire a worthwhile center without trading one of their top 5? Whew. I would have to kind of do a deep dive on that to see, dude. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Just think, the Blazers could have Anthony Simons, Gary Trent Jr., Ben Simmons. Damn, that is true, dude. This makes no sense. The Blazers traded Gary Trent Jr. for Norman Powell last year, and then they basically just gave up Norman Powell. Like, that is GM mismanagement at its best. If I'm Dame, I get like Dame saw that come across his phone from Woj, and Dame immediately got on the phone to the Blazers GM and was like, "What are you doing? Trade me now." You know what I mean? Like I can't believe this. Imagine how Damian Lillard is feeling right now. I just feel bad for him. Raptors are getting Nurkic. That is a great point. Nurk, that use of Nurkic, I would feel most confident if anyone else is traded from the Blazers, it would be Jusuf Nurkic. Not only because he's a good player, but also because he's a free agent after this year and things aren't going well. And Nurk is kind of a dude who, when things aren't going well, he's disgruntled. So I guarantee you, Nurk don't want to be there. They probably don't want Nurk around. You know what I mean? So anyone who needs a good center right now, I think Jusuf Nurkic is a great option. Who needs a good center? Raptors, like we talked about. Warriors need a good center. Although he's not great on defense. I don't know who else, but there's plenty others. Do you think Spencer Dinwiddie will be traded before the deadline? Jordan, you know what I heard? Actually, Spencer Dinwiddie isn't the most likely guy to be traded on the Wizards. The most likely guys are Montrezl Harrell and Davis Bertans. Those are the two that are most rumored to get traded. Bertans and Montrezl Harrell, and not so much Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm not sure why. But how about Kyle Kuzma? Have you guys been watching Kuz lately? I'm not joking when I say this. I think Kyle Kuzma might be the Wizards' best player this season. That is insane. This dude is not credible. What is your evidence, W? Nurk to the Brooklyn. Whoop. Hornets. Yes, good point, Patrick. The Hornets need a center. That's a great point. Do you think Jeremy Grant will get traded? Honestly, no. Dwight Howard get traded to the Heat? I don't think so. Nobody will take the Bertans contract. I agree with you, the J. Any moves for the Heat? Any moves for the Heat? Any moves for the Heat? What do they need? The Heat feel like one of the more complete teams in the NBA, don't they? They have a top 10 player in Jimmy Butler. They have a great point guard in Kyle Lowry. They have a great center in Bam Adebayo. They have a great sixth man in Tyler Hero. They have they have a good bench. Like the Heat have these dudes like Max Strus, who hasn't come out of nowhere, but who has been one of those like under the radar, less talked about. Gabe Vincent, right? Like the Miami Heat, like they have a lot of pieces. I just think what the Heat are missing are like that top 5 player. Normally I think top 5 players are the teams that win championships. Like even last year, you had the depth and the talent of Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and the Suns, but who ended up winning? Top 5 player with Giannis. You know what I mean? So is there a move coming for the Heat? I don't know. But what do they really need? I feel like they need like a top 5 player, right? They have everything else. They have a great coach. They have a great front office. But like they can't get a top 5 player. So any real moves for the Heat, I feel like would be kind of boring because they're not going to trade in their big guys. So they're not going to get any big guy back. So I just, the Heat, I just kind of feel like they're chilling at this trade deadline. All right, Alec Schmidt says, you're one of my favorite sports channels. I really appreciate your straightforward, no BS talk and keeping it civil. Thank you. Do you think Julius Randle will get traded? I've heard nothing of the sort. Any Bucks trades? Yeah. Who asked this? Basketball Bro. Here's a Bucks trade for you, Basketball Bro. What do the Bucks need right now? They need a center. They need someone who can rim protect, get rebounds, chip in a little offense, because Brook Lopez has been injured all year. And although Giannis can play center, and he plays center well, Giannis can play almost any position well, you really want to free up Giannis to kind of roam around, right? So if they need a center, who could you get if you are the Bucks? Well, what do you have to trade out? Honestly, I think their best trade chip is Dante DiVincenzo, don't you? I think Dante DiVincenzo is still a good player, even though he was injured most of last year, or at the end of last year. I think he's still got a lot of potential. He's got youth on his side. And so I think that they should trade Dante DiVincenzo for the best center that they can get. Now, the problem is that Dante doesn't make much money. So when we're talking like someone like Yusuf Nurkic, I think, a Nurk for DiVincenzo swap doesn't work because the Bucks can't take on all that money. So they would have to get a center who doesn't make a lot of money. Robin Lopez? You already have Brook Lopez on the team. Why not get Robin? Robin's chilling in Orlando, having the time of his life because he loves Disney and they have a house at Disneyland. But maybe the Bucks trade for Robin Lopez. I don't know. Is that dumb? That might be dumb, but I would honestly, dude, to have a really good trade, I would have to really look through all of the centers who don't make a lot of money. Yeah, Mike Muscala, that's a good one. Oh, dude. Well, I don't know. Is Muscala a little weak defensively? Any San Antonio Spurs trade rumors? I haven't heard any other than Derek White. I think Derek White would be the only one to get traded. But Ruben, if you're a Spurs fan, there ain't nothing going on in San Antonio trade-wise. They're just not. Blazers fan here. We are pissed. XC Dep. Dude, if you missed the beginning of this stream, I was just saying I feel bad for you guys. This is horrible. Yeah, Mitchell Robinson. TAT says Mitch Rob. He doesn't make much money. The Knicks already have enough centers, so they could do without Mitch Rob. It's fine. And then if they got Dante DiVincenzo back, maybe you say, okay, we're going to bank on his talent instead of Robinson. That's a good trade, dude. That is approved. Good job. Harden to Denver? No. Will the Celtics have any big moves? I guarantee you're going to trade Dennis Schroeder to get under the luxury tax, but you're not going to get anyone exciting back because they want to stay under the luxury tax. So you're good. Yeah. Robert says Imrob to the Bucks. That's what I'm talking about. Why not? That actually sounds good. We got trash. Blazers owner going to sell. Yeah, dude, you're right. She probably is. Rude boy. God, these chats are coming in fast. Do you see the Clippers getting a point guard? I don't know, man. That's tough. It's so funny because we would have to look around at who might be available, and then we'd have to look at how they would acquire that point guard. They don't have any cap space. It's tough, dude. Eric Gordon to the Cavs for Rubio. I'm a fan. James Harden to the Sixers for Ben. That is not going to happen. Larry Nance to the Bucks. He's too short. CJ to Dallas. Who are you going to trade? Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith. Who else are you going to trade to get CJ? You'd have to trade first-round picks. You'd have to trade even more than Jalen in DFS because you have to get all the way up to CJ's salary, dude. Like, that's a lot. You know what I mean? So they're not going to take Kristaps. Let's see. Sabonis to the Hornets. That would be fun. Ibaka to the Bucks. Surge to the Bucks. I just feel like he's so far past his prime. I wouldn't be a fan of that. Hear me out. Bucks give the Sixers Drew Holiday and Bobby Portis for Ben Simmons. Drew Holiday. No, dude. What? Ben Simmons to Minnesota. Wait, is this fake? I don't know what that means. Do you think the Mavs will try to get Ben Simmons. No, I do not. They don't want that mess in their locker room while they're trying to keep Luka happy. Cavaliers trade news? No news. If the Pistons trade Jeremy Grant, what do you think they could get? Or who could they get to help the team? My favorite trade rumor for Jeremy Grant is to the Bulls, and you guys get Patrick Williams back. Former number 4 overall pick, future defensive stud, injured all this year for the Bulls. Bulls have a short window here to try to win it all. Why not go for it? My concern is that there are some people in the Bulls front office who totally disagree with me on that. And they are so high on Patrick Williams because, after all, they took him 4th overall. They really believe in Patrick Williams. And they're saying, and those people would be arguing against trading for Jeremy Grant. They're like, no, what? This kid's going to be so good. He's going to be, borderline superstar, right? And so because you have those voices in the front office, I'm just afraid that Patrick Williams, Jeremy Grant type trade won't get done. So, but we'll see. What's your opinion on James Harden's current game? I think he's injured. He's got an injured hamstring. All these people are freaking out. It's like, settle down, dude. Can you go back to 5 videos per week? No. I'm putting more effort into these videos, more research, more production value. Hopefully it's showing. I don't know. You guys didn't watch my last video, by the way. I'm upset at every single one of you. It's called Top 5 Underdog Teams that could actually win the title this year. That's okay. If you guys don't like that one, that's fine. Thunder need a young, great potential player and have a ton of draft picks. Why don't they make a 3-team deal and get OKC a great young teammate for Shea? Maybe Ben? Great idea, dude. I think we all want to know what OKC is doing. Oh, thank you, Jimmy G. Butler. Rahul says, should the Raptors pursue a trade for Karis Levert and Jeremy Lamb? Should the Raptors pursue a trade for Karis Levert? Well, dude, I do know that the Pacers want at least 2 first-round draft picks for Karis Levert. And so my question for you as a Raptors fan is, has Karis Levert excited you enough, and is he enough of an addition to what you already have to spend 2 first-round picks? You know the Raptors really value their first-round picks. They rarely deal. They rarely make any trades that involve sending out a first-round pick, at least this Masai Ujiri front office, right? So I just don't see that happening because Karis Levert doesn't stand out to me enough. Like he's really a game changer. I think that if the Raptors were going to make a big trade, it would be more for like a Miles Turner / Domantas Sabonis type if we're talking Pacers, because I feel like the Raptors need that center upgrade. Pascal Siakam has been playing great. We know Gary Trent Jr. has been good. Fred VanVleet. That says it all. Undrafted, 4th undrafted player to make an all-star game. They need a big center. So you're talking Karis Levert? No, I'm talking Miles Turner, Domantas Sabonis. We had 2 more super chats. One was from a man Ace who says, hey Ace. And the other one's from Gaming Aaron 13. He just wanted to throw me $2. It's like I'm standing on the corner of a street with a microphone and I'm just talking NBA with like a hat in front of me. And you guys are all walking by, and you're like throwing money into the hat. It's weird, but that's basically what that is. Do you think the Celtics would trade for Spencer Dinwiddie with Dennis Schroeder because they can't pay Schroeder in the offseason? If they do that, Vineeth, I think that the Celtics would be trying to send out even more money, because what the Celtics are trying to do is get under the luxury tax. And right now they're $3 million over. And so that's why they would trade Dennis Schroeder. And so to take back Spencer Dinwiddie's money, he makes a lot more than Dennis Schroeder. I feel like you would have to send out even more so that they could get under that tax. And if you guys have been paying attention to the Celtics, they basically have an 8-man rotation now. There is no more Romeo Langford. There is no more Aaron Nesmith. Like, Ime Udoka has given up on these young guys. Like, if you're a Celtics fan, you're like, we've just made horrible front office decisions for a long time, you know? And so Dennis Schroeder's now coming off the bench. And so if you want to talk about some of those guys who are no longer in the rotation and you're going to send those guys to Washington as well, then you can start to get under that salary line that I'm talking about. But a Dennis Schroeder for Spencer Dinwiddie trade, I do not see happening. Jakob to the Nets for a trade exception. That would definitely be waving the white flag for the Spurs. Honestly, Jakob is a great player. Lol, Neesmith has potential. You keep saying that, but when are we ever going to see it? Karis Levert to the Bucks. No. Collab with Crispy Flakes soon? To be honest, I'm asking myself that. Hey, Casey, what do you think the Clippers' new starting lineup will be when everyone's finally healthy? I love that question, Chris. At the 1, we've got Reggie Jackson. At the 2, we have Norman Powell. At the 3, do we have Robert Covington? No, of course we don't. We have Paul George. At the 4, we have Kawhi Leonard. At the 5, we've got Ivica Zubac. So to recap, Reggie, Norm, PG, Kawhi, and Kawhi and PG are interchangeable. It doesn't matter. And then Zubac. Off the bench, Luke Kennard, Serge Ibaka, Amir Coffey, BJ Boston. I'm missing someone big here. I forget who it was. It doesn't matter. But anyway, look, I'm a huge believer in the Clippers next year. Oh, Kyle. He says, Sixers make the finals without trading Ben this year. And Elfeed asks a similar question. How far will the Sixers get without Ben in the playoffs? Okay, guys, this is a tough question. All right, so right now, what are they in? 4th place? I'm going to look up real quick so that we don't mess this up. The 76ers right now are in 3rd place, and they are 1 game away from being in 1st place. So this is the case for Joel Embiid to be the MVP. Since Christmas, I believe they're 28-4 when Joel Embiid is healthy. And one of the best stories all year has been the development of Tyrese Maxey. Did you guys see that they beat the Grizzlies the other night without Joel Embiid because Tyrese Maxey is a beast? Did you know that Tyrese Maxey didn't play a minute of point guard his entire life before this year? Like, that is an underreported story about Ben Simmons leaves. They turn to 2nd year Tyrese Maxey and are like, dude, can you do something you've never done before at an NBA level and possibly lead our team to a 1st place finish in the East? And he's like, I guess I'll try. And at first it wasn't very good, but then Tyrese has been getting better and better, but I also love his confidence. Tyrese has the confidence of almost like an Anthony Edwards. Like, he believes in himself and he's got the game to back it up. Didn't play point guard in high school, college, or the NBA. 2nd year, he's been a beast. I love it. And then you've got Seth. You've got Matisse Thybulle, who is, top 5 defensive player of the year. You've got Tobias Harris, who should be a number 3, but he's a number 2, but he's getting paid a max. But you know what, dude? So do they have the talent? Sure. Sure, they have a talent to win a championship. But you have to look at the East. In the East, a lot of people are talking down on the Nets right now because they're in 6th place and they've lost 6 games in a row, the Brooklyn Nets. Oh, my gosh. But outside of the Nets, you've got the Bulls, you've got the Heat, and you've got the Bucks. Okay, so can the Sixers beat the Bucks? Yes, they can. Joel Embiid having an MVP season. Giannis is a beast too. I think that would be really tough. I think they could beat the Heat. They could beat the Bulls. But, I'm a big believer in the Brooklyn Nets, and I know a lot of people disagree with me. But think about this. The more games the Brooklyn Nets lose, the better it is for them in the playoffs. Because if you have a Game 7 against the Sixers and you've got Kyrie Irving on your team, you want that Game 7 to be on the road. You know what I'm saying? You do not want to have Game 7 in Brooklyn when Kyrie cannot play.
So this is like a sneaky plan by the Brooklyn Nets to lose games, to get a lower seed, to not have home court so that they can have Kyrie Irving for the biggest games in series. And so this is technically a brilliant strategy by Sean Marks, Steve Nash, and the Brooklyn Nets. And so, these people saying that the Brooklyn Nets are overrated and James Harden is done, you're all wrong. All that matters is that they're healthy come playoff time. And all that matters is that they don't get home court advantage. That really matters for them. So I think that the Sixers would compete the most against the Nets for the East. And I still pick the Nets. Wasn't Tyrese Maxey the guy who last year didn't have a photo on the roster? That's hilarious. I don't know, but that would be so funny. Karis Levert. Okay, we've been streaming for like 40 minutes. The only reason I've been staying on streaming, there's over 1,000 people in here. What? That doesn't happen. So I'm like, I'm gonna keep talking because there's like over 1,000 people. But like, dude, once we're getting to 45, I have to get back to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't just be on here talking to you guys for 45 minutes. Look, I'm super grateful for all of you. Thank you so much. Please come watch the video at 5. This video is going to be very good. This video is called How Much Does the Trade Deadline Matter, Actually? And then we look at the history of the trade deadline and be like, hey, is the trade deadline actually really overhyped? Does it deserve all the hype that it gets? Or is the trade deadline really useful for teams trying to win a championship? That comes out at 5. Okay, you guys are the best. I'm so grateful. And I will see you at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That is the New York City time zone. Later.